Hey, what's good? What's good? We back at it, doing the YouTubes, you know, making mom and dad proud, as usual. What am I doing with my life? Anyways, I decided it was probably about time that I make a YouTube video in the world of MapleStory, just because I've played this game since, I don't know, 4th grade or something like that, so wasted majority of my life on this game, so I've got a good amount of knowledge on just a bunch of random crap that's not going to help me in life. But anyways, today we're doing a video on the top 5 most iconic hacks in all of MapleStory. Now, what do I mean by iconic? Well, essentially what I'm trying to say is things that have essentially gone down in history as being insane, game-changing, you know, very just detrimental to the game health overall, and things that a lot of players remember fondly. I want to put a disclaimer on this. I'm not promoting people to do any of this. This is just stuff that MapleStory experienced in the past, and really I just wanted to document it because I think some of it is wild, and I figured some other players would be interested to see all the stuff that the game has gone through as well. Also, none of these clips are me or anybody that I know. None of the images are from anybody that I know. These were all things found online while doing research about this. And I'm not promoting anything. We're just out here for educational purposes. Please, Nexon, please don't ban me. I swear. I swear.
I'm gonna break my monitor, I swear!
Alright, so the first hack that we're going to talk about today is arguably the most flashy of all of these hacks. That is the old school star hacked items. So these things were absolutely insane. From what you can see here, I've got an Absolab sword that was pretty recently made from me. I used some pretty high quality scrolls on this not too long ago, and even this Absolab sword is no match for the Stone Tooth sword that was made back then, tagged by Dan's Poor. These items were absolutely insane. I don't know the specifics on how it worked, but essentially it let them star their items basically an infinite number of times. I'm not sure if it was because they could avoid booming, or if it was just like guaranteed to keep passing and they just kept they had a way to just infinitely use this on there. From what I remember back in the day, the enhancement scrolls didn't necessarily have a cap, but I don't think you could protect them from being destroyed either. And so they kept getting lower and lower odds the more you use them, kind of how they do today. However, most people don't use enhancement scrolls anymore. Majority of people use the Star Force system, which I think is a much better system overall. Still not the best, but anyways, to be able to get an item even close to 10 stars back then would have been incredibly difficult, because you start getting down to 5% success rate or lower for each of these stars, and these things have stars out the ass. It's like probably 75 plus stars on each of these items, maybe even more, honestly. I'm not going to take the time to calculate it. I don't even know if it's possible for me to calculate it, considering the way that stars work on equipment. I'm not sure if it's changed in the past or whatever it may be, but there were tons of these. I mean, we've got the old Nisrock, the old Red Craven. Like, these items were absolutely crazy. They rival items even today, so these went back as early as at least 2013, maybe even earlier. I don't know for sure. 2013 was like the oldest thing I could see documented about these, so I'm sure it went back even further than that. Maybe even when equipment enhancement came out, I'm not sure. But at any rate, you can imagine how absolutely bonkers these things were back in the day. And then on top of that, this was during a time when people knew how to dupe items. So, of course, naturally, they're going to take a ton of these insanely broken items and dupe the crap out of them. And that's why there's so many images that you can see online. Like, if somebody had a one-off item of these and they could never reproduce it, I doubt they ever show images. They maybe take one image and then when it gets removed from the game, they then show it off. But the fact that these images are all over the place, or at least were back in the day, they're pretty hard to find the screens for these now, but it's just incredible to me that not only these things were made, but they also got duped like crazy and got distributed. To my knowledge, all of these have been wiped from the game now for obvious reasons. I mean, the fact that before probably even Chaos Root Abyss equipment came out, probably even before Empress equipment came out, they had these absolutely insane weapons. So not surprising that it got removed from the game, but absolutely iconic. You ask any old school player that was relatively active, and I can almost guarantee they remember these. So very flashy, very cool. Glad they got removed from the game. Glad it's not possible now. Something like that pretty much just kills the economy. So yeah. That leads us well into number 4, which would be duplication hacks. Dupes were probably the most detrimental to the overall economy of the game. If you guys have any other ideas of what the most detrimental to the game's economy was, throw it down in the description. A lot of people will probably say like meso farmers and botters, but I don't think you understand. If you never played back when these dupes were a thing, you basically couldn't try to get valuable items because you wouldn't know if they would just become worthless the next day. The first thing that comes to my mind is the duping of things like Chaos Scrolls, the 38 weapon attack Violet Snowshoes, which I believe was made by Dot Currencies, and then also like the super high weapon attack White Raccoon Mask, Brown Raccoon Mask, like all these things.
Belt.
So basically the meta was people would get something that has weapon attack, or put weapon attack onto something like Violet Snowshoes or a mask that normally doesn't have it, and then they would Chaos Scroll it. So they would probably dupe the Chaos Scrolls, then after they got weapon attack on the item, dupe the item, and then eventually perfected some of these items, and then duped the crap out of those as well. These things were seen all over the place. People were throwing them around in the Maple Trade System. For those of you that don't know, back in the day, they had something called the Maple Trade System where you could exchange items directly for NX. A lot of people merged tons of NX back in the day, but I believe they closed the Maple Trade System because it was like a root cause of duping. I believe there's a method to dupe within the trade system, and if you look back at old forums, there's plenty of stuff indicating that that was the case as well. So they put the kibosh on that, and now we've got the auction house and the meso market, which I think is much better. It's a little bit less, interesting. I'm also a fan of like the free market. I'll save that for maybe a different video. But anyways, so these dupes were insane. I mean,
Oh, mamma mia.
I just remember seeing shops full of like Chaos Scrolls. I think I remember White Scrolls being duped back in the day. We don't have White Scrolls in the game really right now. Maybe they got removed or swapped out, but essentially White Scrolls made it so that any scroll you used didn't consume a slot if it failed. So that stuff is crazy because let's say you've got like a low percent attack scroll or something like that. You throw your White Scroll on it, or you use the White Scroll alongside of that thing. If it fails, it doesn't matter. You just keep going. So it's kind of like the opposite of what a Clean Slate Scroll does. Clean Slate Scroll brings back slots. That one prevented slots from being used. So all sorts of these things getting duped like crazy and just kind of killing the economy overall. And you would never know when these things would come out. You would never know when your, Channel 1, FM1 would just be full of this garbage. A lot of times these things cause rollbacks.
It's rollback time here at
Nexon
thousands of rollbacks throughout the whole
game.
and I should know that because I'm Mr. Rollback.
And this caused even innocent players to get banned because they'd see these items were super cheap. They'd scoop them up in their inventory. Nexon's like, hey, you can't be doing that. You have all these illegal items in your inventory. They put the kibosh on their account. I mean, we all know that Nexon's no stranger to banning innocent players. But anyways, I digress. So these things, I think, warrant the fourth most iconic slot, primarily because you have some of these very very name-catchy items where people were item tagging their equipment and then duplicating it like crazy, basically for clout because they didn't care about the game. So I think those are very iconic. Again, I think all of these have been removed. I think maybe it's arguable that this is less iconic than the Star Forcing, just because if the Star Forcing one was still in the game, it would be clapping the economy still. And duping, or at least if the items were still in the game, you know, those still seem more brutal than these duped items would be. But just duping as an overall concept, if that was still in the game, you can imagine Frenzy Totem would be going crazy. I mean, yeah, there's plenty of broken items, Breath of Divinity, all that crap. You duplicate those, you know, permanent hyper teleport rock coupons, it would be not good for our overall game state. So I think it's safe to say if dupes are out there, they're definitely not public, and they're not going to be public anytime soon. So yeah, game's in a much healthier state now, so I think that's why dupes warrant rank 4 on this list. Alright, before we get into rank 3 on the list, I just want to say this video is not sponsored, but I do love me some Taco Bell, and if you guys have not tried that quesalupa, boy, if you're willing to throw down $400 to tier up an item to Legendary, or like $1,000 to get yourself a Vac Pet from Wonderberry, hey, this quesalupa for $3.49, guaranteed to be the best investment in your life. So, for rank 3 on this list, we have Botters and Farmers. And I know I said that duping was more detrimental to the game than Botters and Farmers, which I still think it is. However, Botters and Farmers are more iconic in the scene of MapleStory. At some points, the game basically became synonymous with botting. You could see them all over the place. Memes were being made like crazy, so they're definitely more iconic than dupes are. At points, the problem would get so bad, you'd see videos from other MapleStory YouTubers, you'd see videos from Copperson and Sacrix and all sorts of other people that would be showing off these botters, asking you to please go around and report them, get them out of the game, don't buy Meso anywhere, don't do any of that because you're just supporting the botters and just really trying to get the game cleared up. These bots plagued the game. They had been in there for years and years and years, and only up until recently did Nexon manage to actually put a pretty hard stop on some of these botters. And now it's cleared up enough to the point where the Meso value has like gone up 10 times the rate of what it was at one point. Haha, Nexon, you still forgot to change the Star Force cost in normal servers.
Daddy, chill.
Anyways, these hacks had persisted in all eras of MapleStory. I mean, these things went from way before Big Bang all the way up until even the end of 2019 when Meso was like roughly 2k NX in the Meso market. So we can tell for sure that things have gotten quite a bit better, and I'd say that things are in a pretty good state as far as the game goes right now. But because these things had existed for so long, that's why I think they warrant number 3 on our list of most iconic hacks. For number 2 on our list, we have what I'm going to call game manipulation. Now, there's a lot of different terminology that this could fall under. I'm going to use game manipulation because it's a little bit broad. It could include a myriad of things. And there's going to be a lot of different terminology for what people think this should be called, but we're just going to keep calling it this. I'm not going to go too far into the details on any of these. I'm just going to quick run over what a lot of possibilities were for this, because these things were by far the most detrimental problems for the game. These would be things that would be ruining entire game states and really created a lot of chaos in the game. They could vary quite a bit in the damage that they did to the game, but what exactly does that mean? Well, here's a list of all the things that did happen in GMS at one point or another.
Ready? Go!
Changing the number of likes on an item in Cash Shop. Infinite yacht rolls. Map crashes. Infinite event coins. Free Tyrant equipment before Magnus was even released. swapping potential on items using anvils. No delay on skills.
Oh my god.
Infinite scrolling on items. Infinite boss drops. Infinite white scroll generation.
What the hell is even that?
Infinite meso exploits. Free EXP and leveling exploits. And being able to summon an NPC that lets you change your job, change your stats, change your level, and be able to get the GM Wizette hat in-game, but none of these are more crazy than the most crazy of all of these. Actually, the most crazy of these game manipulation exploits goes to the rank 1 spot on our list, which is
the remote hack.
What exactly is the remote hack, though? A remote hack is essentially somebody being able to see you in-game and jump into your account at any given time. If you're an older player that ever got their account stolen or items stolen off your account, this may trigger some pretty bad memories for you, just so you know. I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but I'm also going to include account theft under remote hack, primarily because a lot of times people would be tricked into using third-party softwares that would get their account stolen, which also feels kind of hacky to me. Whether or not these types of hacks required some other information in order to get into your account, I'm not sure. I think there's a pretty good chance, considering it's not like every high-ranked player or godly item-containing player was just randomly disappearing. But what exactly was required, I'm not sure, and that's what makes this so scary. This kind of thing was real, though. I personally know people that had this happen to them. Also, things like account theft were definitely real. I personally lost my account trying to get free NX when I was a noob. These things would devastate players. This was like 90% of the reason why somebody would quit so abruptly back in the day, even if they were the most dedicated players. Getting into your account and stealing your items wasn't enough for these people. A lot of the time they would go through and delete every character on your account, so you'd almost be lucky if you were left with a high-level character that you could try to re-gear again. Now you may be thinking, as long as you're not talking to shady people or doing something dumb, this really couldn't affect you, right? So you play smart, you'll be safe. Well, we're all human, and humans make mistakes. And on February 27th, 2010, there was a mistake so big that players considered it the darkest week in MapleStory's history. A GM account in Scania gets compromised. Some players were laughing, some players were panicking, others were trying to convince people to just log off of the game entirely. Players start smack-talking next on security immediately. The person on the GM account shows no remorse, telling players to shut up, calling them fat, trying to ban players, threatening other players, showing off GM-exclusive items in-game. More than likely giving away items if he could. Nexon eventually blocks the GM account, however, the damage had already been done. Players were pissed. People sent in tickets because they were so furious that it took over an hour for this guy to get removed from the game. It was pure chaos, and easily the most iconic hack in MapleStory's history. There may also be some older players viewing this who remember Heim's post stating that this GM had actually given out his credentials accidentally. He intended to put up an in-game notice and accidentally pasted his login information after it. However, young Maplers, you have to remember, there aren't only 2 pieces of information that are needed to log into an account, there's actually 3. This person needed the pick to be able to get into this account, which means that they probably used a pick bypass. So, that means that this was officially a hack. Current day MapleStory for sure has its fair share of problems, but it's definitely not anywhere near the level of chaos that the game has seen in the past. The player base is definitely on an upswing, and it seems like KMS is looking to implement some really good changes that could actually help boost that player base even more, possibly even restoring MapleStory to some of the glory that it once had in North America too. I for sure look forward to seeing what the game becomes in the future, but only time will tell. If you guys managed to reach it to this point in the video, I really appreciate you watching. Let me know if I should make more things like this. It took quite a while to make and quite a bit of research, but I have fun doing this, so I think it was a good time. I do have some good ideas for fun videos that could be made in MapleStory that isn't just the cliche cubing, bossing, whatever, that boring spinning marvel. All that stuff is just lame to me. No.
Jesus. Why do you have a shrimp kebab stood here?
They're fish, sir?
Fish kebab, whatever.
Because it's free.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate that reference, man. Makes me actually throw up that you got a good reference off of that. There are some pretty unique content creators out there that are flying underneath the radar. I just recently discovered Koobs, who goes over some of the most rare items in all of MapleStory. Real Axe Gunner, who plays MapleStory on 3 accounts at the same time, one of them using his feet. He's also trying to buy a Frenzy Totem with Meso, which is absolutely insane to me. Sought, who's been doing lore videos for the game in really high quality for the last 5 years. And then you've got bigger names like Sacrix, who's gunning to be the first player ever to reach 10k Legion. I love you, Sacrix. Please notice me. So yeah, spread the love to some of your smaller content creators.
Yeah, good. Hey, thank you for pointing that out. That's the hero. Yeah, very good point, man.
If you like this, drop a sub, maybe even follow me on Twitch, and let me know other topics like this that you'd be interested in. And remember, be a good noodle and don't hack. Okay, bye!
Oh, mamma mia.